So I recently uploaded a video of me cold calling live on YouTube, and the most requested comment was for me to break down the actual script I used on that video and my process for writing call scripts to secure meetings regardless of your niche, your product, or your service. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. Now, very quickly, if you're watching me for the first time, my name is Platten. I own a marketing agency called Affluent.co. I've made thousands of cold calls over the years, and off the back of that have closed millions in new revenue. So let's go through the process that I went through for actually writing the script for that video, because I wrote that script on behalf of another marketing agency, somebody that I was mentoring, and I wanted to help them get some more meetings and show you guys that cold calling really isn't that difficult when you know what you're doing. So the first thing that we need to do when we're writing any calling script is understand the brief. We need to understand the fundamentals behind what it is we're actually trying to sell and who we're trying to sell to. And so I call this the brief. And so this is where I started off. So I knew that I was working in the niche of aesthetics clinics, okay? So I was working on behalf of Mo, who owns an agency called Gorilla Media Lab, and they work with aesthetics clinics. So this is the niche that I'm putting down. It's the person that we're looking to target. Let me zoom in here. And his offer is 15 new qualified appointments booked in to this aesthetics clinic every month, or they don't pay anything. It's a pretty decent offer. And then the service is Facebook lead generation ads plus appointment settings. So Mo will run Facebook ads to generate leads for this business, and then he'll call up those leads and set them straight onto the calendar so the aesthetic clinic doesn't have to do anything. It's a really great service. Now, I don't want you to confuse, as bonus tip, your service with your offer. Many people don't actually understand their offer. When I say to them, what is the thing you're trying to sell? What's the offer? And they're like, Facebook ads. Well, that's just the service, okay? That's the vehicle to get the result that you're trying to achieve for the person that you're trying to achieve it for. Your offer is the end result. So it is these 15 new qualified appointments booked in. Now, it might not be a specific quantifiable number. If you're starting off in a new business, you might not have that number yet because you haven't got the result enough times through repetition. But it needs to at least be the desired result, which could just be new qualified appointments booked in, whatever that is, okay? I'm gonna break this down for what I did with Mo, but I'm also gonna do another example from scratch so you can see my entire thought process. So once we have the brief and we understand the fundamentals, the next thing we're going to do is actually write the script. I'm going to break this down kind of word by word so you understand the psychology behind what I'm saying, and you can adapt this, but what I would not recommend you doing is just copying this word for word. It's important you understand how to write scripts for yourself, depending on your individual circumstances, your tonality, the niche you're working with on your brief, okay? So, hi, is it name I'm speaking to? Okay, so straight away it's like, hi, is it name I'm speaking to? So this is on the basis that we're getting through to the decision maker from the off. I will go through how we get past the gatekeeper shortly. So, hey, is it name I'm speaking to? We want to validate that we know that we're speaking to the right person. Now, the first thing before we do cold calling or any kind of outreach is we build our lead generation list. We want to make sure we've got a list of people that we're contacting. We don't just want to call up a business, ever cold call a business, where we don't actually have the name of the person we're trying to reach out to. Okay, we need to know the decision maker's details. If you want me to make a video about lead generation, comment down below. Lead generation, I'll make a video on how I generate leads and how I did it for this specific example and for others, so I can do that in the future. But it's really important we have these contact details. If you do not have the name, you can do a qualification call to start off with. You can call up the business and say something like, hey, does John still own the business? Okay, and it's not actually John that owns the business, but you're just trying to figure out who it is. No, it's Matt. Okay, oh yeah, Matt. Oh, sorry, I got it completely wrong. Can you remind me of Matt's family name? And then you've got Matt's first name, last name. You could say, hey, who owns the business right now? But you're coming from a completely cold perspective, so it's better to use that little trick like, hey, is it such and such that still owns the company? And then you're just gonna do that qualification. But if not, you wanna try and do your qualification pre-hand. Anyway. Perfect, it's Mo here, so your name here, first name only, okay? We never wanna do like first name, second name, it's very impersonal. I know you're busy, so I'll be quick. So the first thing we're doing after we're checking we're speaking to the right person is we are diffusing right away, because people don't like cold calls. No matter how, I mean, if you watched the live cold calling video I did, I'd recommend you doing so if you haven't already. You'll notice that a lot of people will call up, a lot of people will be on the back foot. No one wants to be cold called. I mean, you know what it's like when you get cold called, right? So let's diffuse that person. I know you're busy, so I'll be quick. Okay, and they're like, okay, fine, well, maybe I've got a little bit of time. Maybe I can give this guy 10 seconds. And then you go straight in with your offer statement. What it is that you can actually do for that person. Could you handle another 15 appointments for your clinic right now? So our offer is giving them 15 appointments. We want to find out, okay, are you qualified? Can you handle 15 appointments for your clinic right now? And the reason why we say this is because what we're doing is we're actually creating desire for the end result before we've even explained what it is we do. It's like, well, yeah, I can handle 15 appointments. So we're getting this preliminary yes. And you'll notice this in kind of any sales training that you go through and anything that I'll teach you guys, is we're always trying to get subconscious yeses throughout the process of whatever it is we're doing, whether that's outreach or an actual sales meeting. We want those little yeses because they aid the big macro yes of actually giving us their money in the end. So yeah, cool, I can. So if we get a positive response in that, we're gonna give some kind of affirmation. It doesn't have to be awesome, this can be incredible, brilliant, whatever. Use your tonality, it's very important we do that. I help estheticians get more clients booked in without having to do anything extra themselves. I generate the leads, I then call them on your behalf, I book them straight into your calendar availability, and I'm so confident this will work with you that if I don't get you clients, you wouldn't have to pay me anything. Would that be worth a quick chat to you? Okay? Now, I'm not going through the official tonality right now because you can do that and watch the actual live cold calling video. I'll break this down. So first of all, we're going through our offer statement in a different sense, okay? From the perspective of us, not through the perspective of them like we already have. I help estheticians get more clients booked in without them having to do anything extra themselves. So I'm gonna give you the desired result without you having to do this painful thing, okay? Without you having to actually do any extra work, because why would you wanna do that, okay? I generate the leads, so then this is how it works. So this is what I do, this is how it works. I generate the leads, I call them on your behalf, and then I book them straight into your availability. What am I doing here? And then we have our risk reversal. I'm so confident this will work for you that if I don't get you clients, you wouldn't have to pay me anything. So let me just break this down so you've got this. So it's what I do, how I do it, and then risk reversal. Okay? And the bonus is any objections. Objection / pain handle. Okay? And that's what all of this stuff we have covered in that tiny little statement above. Okay? We don't want to make sure this does not want to be long. This wants to be no longer than something you can just reel off. When you're writing a script, you want to be constantly reading it and making sure that when you say it, it's something that you can just reel off and it isn't going to be like this tongue twister that sounds unnatural. You want it to always sound off the cuff. But what you do, how you do it, risk reversal, and then some kind of objection handle / pain, so like without you having to do anything extra yourself is an example of that. Now, if they say lots of the time or some of the time they'll say, oh yeah, cool, that sounds nice, that sounds wicked, what do I do now? You say, well, actually, I don't want to like pitch anything to you right now, I would just like to get you on a call. Have you got 10 to 15 minutes over the next couple of days? And you book in a meeting. The key when you're writing scripts and the key to cold calling in general is that you never want to pitch on the phone. You never want to be pushed into pitching on the phone as well, or how much does it cost, whatever, okay? You always want to push back on that and say, well, my service is very bespoke to the individual. It changes every time. I need to find out your needs based on your current position. So what I'd like to do is just book in 15 minutes where we can actually have that conversation and then I can run you through all the details, like the price, how we get onboarded and so on and so forth. So you always want to diffuse someone that's trying to press you into pitching in that moment in time. But what you can do is explain your service somewhat. Because you'll notice I haven't here at all mentioned yet that we're doing Facebook ads, or we've mentioned appointment setting, but not Facebook ads, which is the vehicle. Because mentioning the actual service itself can be a trigger that turns a lot of people off on the phone. So we want to avoid that, especially if you're in the agency industry, you're a service provider. So if they say, okay, how do you do this? Tell me more, I want to understand some more. So we use a combination of paid ads to generate, notice I'm not saying Facebook, I'm just saying paid ads, to generate the leads, and then we manually engage in a conversation and book in the appointments on your behalf. I'd love you to run you through it all in more detail. Have you got 15 minutes free early next week? So what I'm doing here is I'm giving a vague explanation, okay, sparing the details. So I don't really want to give any details. I'm not mentioning it's Facebook ads or anything like that. I'm not saying how I'm appointment setting or what tools I'm using. I'm just saying what it is I'm doing from a top-down perspective. And then we are reiterating the fact that we want to book a meeting. Book meeting for more details. So all we're really doing here is the goal is to strike up desire for a meeting. If we have to explain the service. And it's really the goal for any of this call, is just trying to strike up enough desire for a meeting. But if we break this down, so we have our vague explanation here, and then we are booking a meeting for more details. So this is what we do, and it's interesting, and you're excited about this, like, but I'd love to talk you through all the rest of it because there's so much more to it. Have you got 15 minutes over the next couple of days, or have you got 15 minutes tomorrow, next week, whatever? Okay, now what about if they say no to us at this point? So, okay, and this is something like a lot of people, and I notice this happen a lot, and this is a confidence thing. And when I first started cold calling, believe me, like, again, for those of you that watched me before, I used to work in corporate sales. I made 100 cold calls a day for years. I've made tens of thousands of cold calls. I made a lot of cold calls in my current marketing agency as well to close millions in revenue. But when I first started off, when someone said no to me, I would like stumble and be like, oh yeah, hang up. Sometimes I'd just pretend there was like a bad line or something. I just want to get them off. That's the worst thing you can do. And you'll notice if you've watched a live cold calling video that I did, that if somebody says no to me, I push back very quickly and I try to keep them on. And I actually booked a meeting with someone on that video doing this exact thing. No, I'm not interested. Well, hang on a second. If you just give me 10 seconds, I might be able to change your mind. Or even call out the fact they're about to hang up. Hang on a second, look, before you hang up, I'm not trying to sell you anything right now. Just give me 10 seconds and I might be able to change your mind. Okay, in this instance, I've got a longer version for an objection handle and a simpler one. I just went through the simpler one before you hang up, give me 10 seconds, I might be able to change your mind. This is on the basis that it's more of a severe rejection. So it's like, nah, mate, I'm not interested. don't even bother. Like, you think they're about to hang up and you really got to get this out. Sometimes you're just going to feel like, oh, no, I'm not really sure. Like, okay, be quick or whatever. And you just say, look, okay, before you hang up, like, I'm not trying to sell you anything right now. I just want to arrange a time that we can have a quick 15-minute meeting, get past this awkward cold calling stage, and I can share some ideas with you, no obligations. If you like, you can take my ideas and implement them yourself, okay? So the thought process behind this and the goals is we are diffusing, again, okay? So we're just diffusing the situation. We're calling out their thoughts, which are, this is just like awkward. I'm on a cold call right now. And again, we are booking meeting with a hook, okay? And that hook is, look, no obligations. If you like, you can take my ideas and implement them yourself. And this is something, this really works, and I've split tested this a lot over a number of years. This little line here is so important. Like, you don't want them to think, okay, I'm going to book this 15-minute meeting just so they can be pitched for 15 minutes, all right? You want them to feel like they're going to gain something from it just by spending their time on that meeting, even if they don't want to work with you. Like, look, no obligations. If you like, you can just take my ideas and implement them yourself. And then you're creating that carrot, so they're like, I can get something out of this call. Let me just jump in, let me book it. Screw it, it's 15 minutes. Why don't I do it? Okay, so this is the goal for this. And like, these scripts will change every time. Like, this is a script I just wrote off the cuff. The most important thing is you understand these things highlighted in yellow. Okay, this is the most important thing. It's not even what I'm saying here, it's these things highlighted in yellow. Because these are the fundamentals. Because if you understand that you need these fundamental things in each of these areas, then you'll understand that you can write a script for any product, service, niche, offering, wherever you are, depending on, like, regardless of the business. Okay, the same applies for this one here. What I don't have in it, I've got some gatekeeper objections here. I could do a whole video on gatekeeper handling. If you would like me to, let me know, and I can do that. Again, drop a comment. You guys can change the narrative of the content I'm creating on this channel. Okay, if you want some gatekeeper shit, you want some lead generation, drop a comment. Let me know what you want. We'll create those videos. So, first of all, like, we'll just do like the intro. I didn't add this. Like, this is very simple. It's like, hi, can you put me through to name, please? That's always what it is. Okay. Hi, can you put me through to name, please? And it's always first name. When you're trying to get past the gatekeeper, and the gatekeeper is the person, the receptionist, or whoever picks up the phone that isn't the person you're trying to get hold of, you always want to make sure that the overtone is, just put me through to this person that I already know. So you want to assume familiarity with that person. The last thing, or the worst thing that you could do is, hi, can you put me through to Mr. Johnson, please? Or, hi, can you put me through to Jordan Platten, please? Like, if you were calling up a friend, would you ever, and their mum picked up the phone, would you be like, hey, can I speak to Jordan Platten, please? No, you'd be like, oh, hi, can I speak to John, please? It's almost like, oh, I wasn't expecting you to pick up. Can you put me through to the person that I want to speak to? Like, so you're taking the tonality, you're coming from the place of, I already know this person, you're assuming familiarity. And what we're doing by the hopes of that is hoping that the gatekeeper is going to understand or sense that familiarity within us and just put us through to that person, okay? So that's what we want to do as far as an intro is concerned. Now, there's a couple of very important things that you need to bear in mind that are going to probably happen when you speak to gatekeepers. Sometimes they always say, oh, where are you calling from? Okay, like where are you calling from right now? And what you don't want to do is name your company, especially if you're a service provider. You want to say the place you're calling from, like Cambridge. Oh, I'm from Cambridge. Now, most of the time, this will make them stumble, and I'll just be like, oh, okay, cool, and I'll put you through. Sometimes I'll push back and be like, no, what company are you actually calling from? You say, I'm not calling from a company. Because we don't want them to feel like it's a sales call. We want them to feel a little bit like, they want them to fumble a little bit and just have a little bit of confusion, just be like, oh, it's easier for me right now to stop pressing on this person that's on the phone and asking more questions. It's easier for me to just put them through to the person they want to speak to. Okay, now sometimes you'll get someone particularly stubborn. Again, I've had this like countless times. They'll say, well, what is it regarding? Now, I used to, and believe me, I've tested this. I used to say, oh, well, they'll know what it's regarding. Oh, it's regarding this, or it's regarding the email I sent them, it's regarding the DM, it's regarding a conversation we had last week. And I'll try and push the gatekeeper off. But what I've found is the market is a lot more sophisticated now when it comes to cold calls than it was like 5-6 years ago. And so what I find actually works the best is you state your offer statement to the actual gatekeeper. Okay, so not your service, your offer statement. It's about getting you guys 15 more appointments over the next month or so. Now, the gatekeeper, if they're good at their job, will recognize that this is a positive thing for the business, and the majority of the time they'll put you through to get to the decision maker if they are actually available, okay? And if they're not, they're going to say, well, can I take a message? And I always like to, well, first of all, the blanket rule is never leave a message, because they're then going to have the opportunity to decide whether or not they want to speak to you later down the line. So you want to keep that aura of kind of mystique, that it's like they haven't yet spoke to you, they don't know what you're all about, they don't understand you yet, so they have the desire to speak to you. So instead it will be like, and you want to act like you're thinking about this, the key tonality. It's like, you want to act like, no, not at this time. The things I would like to discuss are a little complex to leave in a message. Maybe you could help me actually. When would be a good time for me to actually reach John? Literally 2 minutes is all I need. And so at this point, we're kind of pushing them away and we're trying to call on a favor from the gatekeeper. It's like, well, when would actually be a good time for me to get 2 minutes with John? Like maybe you can help me out with that. And then if you're polite and you're received well, they're going to give you a time that you can call back, which will happen a lot. This was key to me. This kind of behavior on reaching out to gatekeepers was key in me getting hold of some of the biggest multi-billion-dollar business managing directors and CEOs in the world when I was in my first corporate sales jobs. In one of my corporate sales jobs, I was selling advertising packages to multi-million-dollar, minimum 100 million a year revenue, and billion-dollar companies over in the Middle East, massive conglomerate construction companies. And I was getting hold of CEOs, COOs, CMOs, the procurement directors, massive high-level, C-level executives in these large companies. And you physically are not going to get the mobile numbers for those companies. So the only thing that you have is LinkedIn outreach, because LinkedIn is a good platform for business owners, and cold calls. And the majority of the time we got through those people by getting through cold calls. And you get through by being respectful to the gatekeeper. What you need to understand is if a gatekeeper wants to make your life hell, they will make your life hell. So you have to befriend the gatekeeper. When they hear you, they're going to listen to you again. You go, oh, it's me again, like Jeanette, like you're probably getting sick of me right now, but I've told you I'm going to be persistent. I really need to get hold of John. It's literally going to be 2 minutes. When's the best time for me to get hold of him? And you end up building this rapport and this relationship with the gatekeeper. And so over the period of time, you're going to chip away at that kind of those mental barriers, and they'll let you through, okay? But the worst thing you could do is be rude to a gatekeeper, because they will make your life hell. Can you send an email? Now, you never want to send emails. Like even on the actual sales call, if the person asks you to send an email, like I'm very transparent and be like, to be honest, I find emails a bit of a waste of time. What is it you'd like to see in an email that we can't go through right now? And if it's the gatekeepers, I want to see is something pretty time sensitive. I'm only looking for one clinic in the London area. That's what I wrote for Mo. So I'm just trying to create that scarcity. So I'd rather call back later if there was a better time. So always pushing back. We don't really want to send that email. Okay. So this is my thought process in writing this script. It's different to a lot of scripts there are that I've written before. There are a lot of nuances between scripts that I've written, or common points between scripts that I've written. But this is very different to other ones. And I want to go through this whole process again, so you can get an idea of how I'd write a new script from scratch. What are we doing time-wise? 20 minutes. Okay, we've got time to do this. So cold calling script for, let's do this. What can we do it for? Web development, okay? So the brief, our niche, we're going to be going for, let's say we're going to be going for WordPress. I'm making this up on the spot. WordPress e-com brands, okay, who aren't yet on Shopify. Okay, great service. I don't know many web agencies that do this, but if you're a web agency, you should be doing this. So in e-commerce, companies that sell products online, they've got WordPress websites using old e-com platforms like WooCommerce. They're not yet on Shopify. You've got a service where you want to offer them Shopify websites, you want to create them. So your offer is going to be, so the first order of service is creating high converting Shopify websites. Okay? And your agency might be, I don't know, Web Grow Plus, I don't know, like it's irrelevant what the agency is right now. Offer is going to be, so what is the good result? What is the result? Why would somebody want to have a Shopify website over a WordPress website? What is this? So we can reverse engineer and create an offer right now. If you're interested, I've got videos on how you can create an offer. If you haven't got one, go watch it. We'll put a link in the description or something. But one of the biggest things is conversion rate. So increase your website, your store conversion rate by 2%, or you don't pay. Okay? This would be a great offer that you could run here. If you're using a website, like a WordPress website, and it's using WooCommerce, something like that, and you're a brand making like 100K a month and you're not on Shopify, I'm pretty confident you could increase your conversion rate by 2%. Okay? You definitely can do that. So this would be a really great offer. This is the end result. So how would I write this script? Hey, is it name I'm speaking to? Perfect. It's Jordan here. I know you're busy, so I'll be quick. I like this line. You can keep this in pretty much any script. So would you be interested in increasing your store conversion rate by 2%? Would you be interested in increasing your store conversion rate by 2%? Sounds a little bit wordy. Okay, so let's change it. So this is what I'm doing all the time when I'm writing script. Would you be interested in increasing your store conversion rate by 2%? It's too much. There's too much going on. Is your store conversion rate above 3% right now? Could you handle an increase in orders right now? Okay, so I'd probably play around with both of these. I'd be torn between both of these. I would split test both. Maybe I would change this to 4%. 3% is pretty modest. 3 or 4%. I'm not up to date with conversion rates on websites. So is your store conversion rate above 3% right now? And the thought process behind this, so you always want to be like a thought-provoking question. The thought process behind this is, okay, majority of store owners aren't going to know what their conversion rate is. So first of all, they're going to be like, I'm not actually sure, to be honest. So then you could try to strike up a conversation. So you're going to have authority. The second one, could you handle an increase in orders right now, is just creating a desire for something that absolutely all store owners will actually want. So I would split test both of these. What I mean by that is I'll probably do about 100 cold calls of both of these, see where I'm getting the majority of meetings, and then I would go with either of these hooks depending on the response. Okay, so got option 1, got option 2. Awesome. So I help. Awesome. I help, and what are we going? WordPress. Brands using WordPress migrate over to Shopify without them having to do any work themselves. And I'm so confident this will increase your website conversion rate by at least 2%. You wouldn't have to pay me anything for the site if it didn't. Okay. So awesome. I help brands using WordPress migrate over to Shopify without them having to do any work themselves. And I'm so confident this will increase your website conversion rate by at least 2%. You wouldn't have to pay me anything for the site if it didn't. I probably wouldn't even say this, would that be worth a quick chat to you? Because then reading this back, this statement, it sounds a little bit too much. Like awesome, like I help brands using WordPress migrate over to Shopify without them having to do any work themselves. And I'm so confident this will increase your website conversion rate by at least 2%. You wouldn't have to pay me anything for the site if it didn't. Stay dead. and just let them kind of dwell on that. Right? So what we're doing here, and some of you might be thinking, okay, this is a big risk, this risk reversal, okay? You're only going to offer a risk reversal if you know you can actually offer on this result, but I know based on the industry, this will actually work. The majority of brands on WordPress do not have websites that are quick, that are smooth, that have the right templates, that have the right, and if you're using WordPress, then generally speaking, just the brand isn't going to convert as high. And so this is going to be a good offer and be a no-brainer. But what you have to remember about offers as well, and we're going to go off on the tangent right now, is offers aren't actually implemented for everybody. Offers are hooks to get people on a call. So all we're doing is making sure we're getting rid of all these objections that the business owner has around us and who we actually are to actually get them on the call. But if we jump on this call and we realize that conversion rate is already like 4 or 5%, they're doing really well, and we can't actually increase that conversion rate, we will just pitch them on this website build without actually giving them this offer, this guarantee itself. So we'll dequalify them on the basis that the conversion rate is really high, but we'll resell them on something else based on their pain points on the actual call itself. So what we're doing is we are selling them on what they want, but we are giving them what they need on the call itself, okay? So don't let this create anxiety. You do need some kind of risk reversal, but you can dequalify people when you actually get them on the sales call. So the explanation, so this will be simple. So I would design and build your new house. So let's say you're just like a freelancer, your new store myself, and all you need to do is jump on a quick weekly call to ensure my vision aligns with your goals. Something along those lines, okay? I'm writing this very quick off the cuff, but you can play around with these. I'd love to run you through in more detail with you. Have you got 50 minutes early next week? So I design and build your new store myself, and all you need to do is jump on a quick weekly call to ensure my vision aligns with your goals, okay? I'd love to run you through the process in more detail with you. Have you got 15 minutes free early next week, okay? And then we would keep this area the same again with this negative response, and all the gatekeeper stuff would be the same, okay? Apart from this would be like getting you 15 more appointments this week. Also, this will be increasing, this would be, keep it vague, website conversion rate's going to be, you got to think about how the gatekeeper is going to receive this. So it'll be like bringing you guys a bunch of extra orders to your store. So you want to make sure that when you're doing the kind of the offer to the actual gatekeeper, it's something that makes sense to them in layman's terms, so they're going to understand it. So bring you guys a bunch of extra orders to your store, because that's what we're doing here. And you wouldn't necessarily think that when it comes to a website build, but that is the end goal. Website is built to actually design, to actually generate more orders. And so we're going to make sure that we're feeding into the end result, which is exactly what we're trying to do on a cold call. So this is how I would write a script when it comes to a completely different service. Okay, we're doing that short off the cuff. Normally I'd spend probably around an hour doing this, so I'll be giving kind of more thought into the exact words. What is really, really important, and in fact what I'm going to do now is just go over back to the other camera. What I think is very, very important for all of you to understand from this process of writing a script is that I am not you and you are not me. And we all have our own dialect, and through the series of our lives, from the people we have spoken to, from the areas we are born, from the countries that we live in, we all have completely different dialect and way of explaining things. And so the worst thing that you could do when you are writing a script is copy and paste the words that I have said right now and just try and say them. You need to understand, and the reason why I'm breaking this down in my thought process and how I'm writing this script, you need to understand the tonality and the psychology behind what we're actually saying, so you can write a script in your own dialect. That's the most fundamental important thing for you to actually be successful when you're cold calling. You need to write this script in your own tonality. And it's the reason why I was so successful in so many of the sales jobs I've had in the past. When I got my script, the first thing I did very quickly is I learned that script and memorized it, and then rewrote it to my own tonality, and then memorized that as well. You have to understand the psychology to understand the words that you're actually saying, so you can understand how to personalize it to yourself. Cool. Now there's a bunch of other stuff that we haven't gone through right now because a lot of it's in my head, and that's objection handling. And what we can do is I can go through an objection handling video in the future, and we can run through all the possible things that somebody could say to you and the bats that you can just throw back, keep batting off those objections and all the things that you can throw back. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. That's enough for you to get your teeth stuck into, and I'll see you all soon.